Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. My web, sorry, WhatsApp wouldn't work, so you got to rely on this. Okay, we're going to start. I don't know whether you all could listen to me or not. I'm ready.
Can you hear me? Start.
Yeah.
Ready to start. Go.
Yeah. Yeah, you start. We do the prayers. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra's regular Sunday morning talk. Today I'm doing this from Siba. We are currently having Vajrasattva retreat. So this talk is going to be relevant to the retreat as well as everyone tuning in. Understanding Sentient Beings, which is a series of talks I started last week. So before the talk, we will do short prayers, and you will screen share that for the benefit of everyone. So if you could screen share the prayers, but if not, most people know by heart. We do this to tune our mind, to reaffirm our devotion and faith in what we believe Dharma to be so true as a guide, how to live and how to live meaningfully. So to do the reaffirmation of that, we do the refuge and remind to practice loving kindness, compassion, and so on towards every sentient being, if you are truly in refuge. So let's do that. And Buddha Dhamma Sangha Adere Vyada Aladam Avacha Ajahana Ajara Vadavada and Buddha Dhamma Adere Vyada Avacha Ajahana Ajara Vadavada and Buddha Ajara Vyada Aladama Avacha Ajahana Ajara Vadavada. All beings have happiness, the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know apart from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment of those apart. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know apart from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those above. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know power for happiness, they know no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, those never. So, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all in good space and understanding yourself. If not, you wouldn't understand other sentient beings. Sentient beings are a very important topic in Buddhism. Buddha is the enlightened one. To do that, he has to spend 6 years facing himself, his body, his feelings, his emotions, his habits, his likes, his dislikes, and he needs to confront that, because without doing that, there is no way to understand other sentient beings, let alone being able to do something useful to other sentient beings. So the word sentient being is as important as word God is in Christianity. And Christianity focus is God. And Buddhism focus is sentient being. When we look at the qualities of the Buddha, such as the 10 powers and 4 fearlessness and 18 unique characteristics, it says that some of the power of the Buddha were understanding sentient beings. So it's only the enlightened one understands sentient beings. And anyone who is following the Buddha Dharma is trying to do just that, because we often misunderstand each other. What we think someone is or isn't doing or not doing is often prejudicial of our own neurosis. They're not factual understanding of the sentient beings as they are. We do not know their interests, their predisposition, their skills, their talents, their intention, what their background is, how much suffering they have at home, at work, how much untold story they're going through. We barely know anybody so well. How can we pretend to know sentient beings? We don't. I wish we knew someone very well. No wonder why Nagarjuna in 2nd century wrote in one of his letters that sentient beings are like mangoes. Outside look ripe, but inside not. Others outside look unripe, but inside ripe. And the third is neither ripe outside nor ripe inside. Fourth one is both ripe outside and ripe inside. So the ability to know sentient beings is difficult unless you know the first person. Because first person is the sentient being, number one. If you know very little of your own interests, your own wishes and deep-held desires and prayers and dreams, and you're not able to follow them and fulfill them, would you be able to do that to any other sentient being, even to your life partner? Often people don't understand their partner. Often they don't understand the other. They thought they did. 15 years they thought they understood, or they tried to. And then they had a big fallout. They just couldn't bear each other's side of it. They just refused to try to understand each other, and they split, they part. Even those who are sticking together 30 years, they still really do not know each other. They're just sticking together because they have a social economical reason to stick together, family reason to together. Some are together not because they understand each other anymore. It's because they want to stick together for the young, for the elderly, for the society, for whatever. But often they really feel like walking away from each other. That's exactly what the Buddha showed. Sentient beings are the hardest things to know. The only one who knows sentient beings is the enlightened one. And therefore, of course, some of us have fairly amicable relationship with each other because we are very kind to each other. We try to be best to each other. We try to be a little bit selfless and so on. But still, we are just eating the, ripened bit of the outside of each other. There's still a lot of unripe mango. Only the ripe bit we are appreciating each other. We have not touched the unripe bit. Because we do not know the actual interest, predisposition, karma, what we suffered in the past life, what unfinished karmic traits we have. And if you understand each other, we will have mercy on them or compassion on them. We will not judge them for the surface they manifest. And that's why we often misunderstand when somebody behaves like that. We think that's all him. And then we club them and we reject each other. So understanding sentient beings requires understanding mind of our oneself. That's why the Buddha said, though know thyself, as within, so without that. Sentient beings are like you. How much do you know yourself? If you don't know yourself, you first take a little steps, like the practice of Vajrasattva, like a little retreat you do. You realize you thought you're going to have a wonderful retreat. You thought you're going to get a 5-week retreat or 4-week personal retreat, some very nice place you've chosen. You've never met the people. You hope all the right place. You go there. After 2 days, people leave. They thought they understood themselves. They thought they planned everything. It's going to go, but they never understood that they're not going to get on well with themselves. Sentient beings hardly get on well with themselves, and they expect someone else to get on well with them. We are the hardest sentient beings to know because we have not really spent time through the prison of Dharma. We have to try to see our mind. So in Buddhist teachings, there is a teaching called the Wheel of Life, in which they divide up the sentient beings in 6 realms, 3 higher realms, 3 lower realms. So these 3 realms are mainly dictated. These 6 realms are mainly determined by their classification of what life they have. Like God sentient being is in pleasure. They like pleasure, decadence, and immediate sensorial pleasure. That's all there is. And they think that's all there is for the purpose of life. They're very materialistic. So materialistic sentient beings do not have any interest in spirituality, for instance. All their main purpose is to please their senses. A lot of time, even though we are humans, we are like devas. We are like devas, particularly in the West, because we have most of the conveniences and necessities readily available to just push of a button. You basically can please all your 5 senses. With all the development is trying to please the 5 senses, like the devas don't have to do. Devas don't have to do any of these to get pleasure, but we have to get pleasure by having these things, go to places and have the devices and have these things, For the devas, as soon as they wish, they get it. So this is the desire operated or controlled realm. And now you will see the deva mentality in someone, in you or your friends. And you don't understand that they're so materialistic, so indulging in sensorial pleasure. They have little or no interest in spirituality. And lots of the time, all the human beings are trying very hard to go to heaven. You know, all the religious tradition is always promising us a good ticket to heaven. Some Mahayanist Buddhists that you'll go to Sukhavati. They're talking about heaven. Heaven is a Deva realm. Heaven is not enlightenment. Heaven is a Deva realm. So most sentient beings are always seeking pleasure. Seeking pleasure. And if you're not able to do something to please their skin, they're going to be disappointed. Sentient beings are very hard to please because you don't know what they want. If they know what they want, that would be good. But do they? No, they don't. They think you will make them happy. And we think they'll make us happy. Both are deluded. Because if the other one make each other happy, then their happiness should continue because each other is there always. Why should things deteriorate from one to another? Because sentient beings' mind is so fickle and so difficult. They are at the whim of their own afflictions, and which they are very unconscious. So the sentient beings generally has deluded. Deluded sentient beings are deluded. Deluded sentient beings has erroneous perceptions. We call impure perception in the teaching, but erroneous perception. They perceive things which is contrary to the reality. So it's all projections. So one project this to one sentient being, they project this to other. Both has profound misunderstanding. They don't understand. They don't understand each other. Why? Because they think the other is what they see in the other. They don't see the other is reflection of their own neurosis, their own cravings, their own neediness. And then if that's also the perception of other, there's a double mistake. They are mistaking, they don't understand you, we don't understand these. And neither of them knows this is happening. No wonder why relationships are difficult. If we both have sat together, really have a good chat, good talk, uninterfered, usually some things get clarified. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. But most people don't have time to listen deeply or even to talk clearly, so that knowing that they are under misunderstanding as I myself misunderstand them. So I must do a good clarification. They both are assuming a lot of the thing on fiction, not on facts. So what does this teaching is? It says that sentient beings are largely governed by their habits and delusion. And that habit they are habituated almost automatically, because there's an automatic system. They are so habituated, they're so addicted, they don't even know they're doing it. They think it's them. They don't know they need to do any change or improvement. They don't need to rectify. That's them. They say, that's me. You like it or not, they call it, as if they are acceptable to themselves. They're not critical. They can't scrutinize themselves. They scrutinize the other. When they cannot understand, scrutinize their own mind, how could they scrutinize the other? Other is on totally different head. Different birthday, different background, different upbringing, and they have a completely different sense of understanding. So sentient beings often reject each other, and then they do that unconsciously, and they think they're conscious. They think what they see is exactly what the fact is, and it's actually not. So therefore, deluded sentient beings have deluded understanding of each other, misunderstanding of each other. They don't have understanding. Sentient beings don't understand each other. You thought they will make you happy, but they never said they will. They thought you will make them happy. You never did. You said, Neither of you said, I can make you happy. Maybe you have given false hopes to each other, saying, I'll make you happy. But they don't. They can barely make themselves happy. How can they make somebody else happy? Because sentient beings are not cause of each other's happiness. Cause of happiness is love for the other sentient being, kindness for the other sentient being, generosity for the other person, forgiveness for the understand or the other, and support for the other. But sentient beings themselves are not cause of happiness. If we practice generosity to the sentient being, we will cause happiness to us and them. But it is sentient beings themselves are not cause of happiness. If they are cause of happiness, the mere existence would do. Just like the roof is cause of sheltering you from rain, because as long as under the roof, you'll be protected from the rain. See, at least the roof works for what it is meant to be. But sentient beings are not cause of happiness. They're usually conditioned for misery. Sorry about that. Sentient beings only adds to the condition of more misery that you already have enough of. We must understand that. That's why they renunciate in the monastic system. They renounce sentient beings because they are never better with the other sentient beings. They are even bad by themselves. So double trouble. so why you need another sentient being when one is bad enough to create its all our problems? So therefore, renunciate practice how to renounce sentient beings who we think are important in our lives. They deliberately seek solitude so that they can truly know themselves as the first person sentient being. Then you realize how much greed and grasping and possessiveness and attachment of yours is making the object look like someone going to make you happy. If you're possessive, if you're controlling, if you can subordinate them, they do everything what you like, then they become into condition your happiness. But otherwise, they cannot make anything that makes you happy. They can't. So because of that, the renunciate practice in the Buddhist tradition is try to give enough space away from another sentient being so that you actually have an opportunity to face your own self, your own habits, and try to abstain certain things like activities, like food or company or things. You try to, exclude yourself from having them, then see how you will behave or change or improve or realize. So that the teaching of Dharma is helping you to understand yourself. You are not your body, you are not your name. When you don't have other sentient being, your name has got no use. You have no other sentient being, you have no need to make up. You have no other sentient being. You don't have to see what you're looking, what you appear as. So you have to solve most of the problem drops when you have no sentient beings. You don't have to do your hair, you don't have to do your makeup, you don't have to check what you're wearing on or matching the shoes with the jacket or whatever. You don't have to. When you don't have sentient being, you just barely put on something to protect you from the heat and cold. But otherwise you don't have to wear to impress another deluded sentient being by the color of your shirt. See, well, we always try to confuse the other sentient being when they're already confused about you. You try to impress them by your shirt, are you? Come on, they know you are pretty unripe inside the shirt. You think you're going to don on an attractive shirt and you're going to impress them? That's what we're doing all the time. People spending hours trying to get ready so that they can go out and strike. Look, fish for problems. They are fishing problems. They're already problematic and they wanted to fish another problem. So that's why in Buddhism, the practice of relation with sentient being was you try to keep away from other sentient beings. Not that they are bad, but you misunderstand them most of the time. Because of that, you try to give some time to be with yourself and then understand your strength, weaknesses, and potentials and the true nature of yourself. So because of that, you discover your desire. Then you just discover your controllability of desire. The more you control desire, the more contented you become. So desire isn't the nature of you. Desire is a just adventitious obscuration. So Deva mentality, the God realm mentality, can be curtailed by your abstention of listening to those cravings and wantings. So if you succeed to control your cravings of your own cravings of wantings, then you will not be craving someone to do this for me. Someone will do this for me. He will fill the gap. He will make me happy. I will have him or her. They will make me happy. You don't crave like that. Your happiness does not come from object. Your happiness comes from contentment that you don't need. Yeah, contentment is the highest wealth, and craving is cause of destitution. Even you craving like a god, always wanting, they never see the wealth they have. Even if the Lord of the wealth, like a Vaisravana's wealth you possess, you never see its content. You have enough. You always crave. So therefore, sentient beings have mentality like that of Devas, always craving. And then sentient beings have the mentality like that of demigods, always jealous. One has sufficient. But because one is envious of what other people have, anything what one has is inadequate. And what the other one have is what makes you miserable. Why he's got that? As soon as you become possessor of another sentient being as whatever yours are, you become jealous. If they go somewhere, do something with others, you become possessive and jealous. Lots of people are human beings, but they become demigods. They become so jealous. But when you practice in solitude, like the monastics are practicing, or even non-monastics when they practice periodical solitude in retreat, they would then learn to curtail not only their craving, but also their inadequacy. The jealous gods are inadequacy. People don't think what they have is good enough. They need to be having like what they have. So these kind of inadequacies and always wanting like what other people have, never seeing the good that you have, is sentient beings' mentality of jealous gods. And we don't have to be jealous gods. We are jealous human beings. We're quite capable of being jealous human beings and without being a demigod. We already got a demigod-like mentality in us. We already got Deva-like mentality in us because we are human beings. Our human suffering is suffering of change. It comes and goes, but there are a lot of patch of pleasure. There's a lot of patch of happiness. They say, I'm so happy. I'm recently so good. And they don't have any kind of drastic suffering. You know, maybe not sick, maybe not dying, maybe not losing anything. So temporarily, when they're not losing anything, when they're not sick, they are actually enjoying the pleasure of the Devas. But when they envy someone else's pleasure, they become demigod like that, human beings. And with regard to human beings themselves, we know very well, as human beings, we do not co-bear with illnesses, be that yours or be that someone else's in your life are getting ill. You can see the illness of one person affects you so much, illness of the other don't. Is it because of illness or is it because you're attached to the person? Yeah, when we attach to the person, even slightest illness of him become cause of your misery. Whereas others who have more severe illness than that, it doesn't even bother, doesn't even matter anything. So that shows we think we know someone's illness more seriously because we attach to them. Because you attach to someone, their illness becomes an issue for you. But when you have no concern or relationship with somebody else, you have no concern over their illnesses. So that shows sentient beings like us, we only have empathy and concern for someone when they are to something to us. But we don't have the same concern to the neutral, to the majority who also have that. So that shows we ourselves is quite difficult to understand. All of a sudden we have empathy to some and no empathy to others. So when we do practice like meditation, where you deal with illness to cleanse your illness, like in Vajrasattva practice, or your medicine Buddha practice, when you try to deal with illness, and you need to do the medicine Buddha or any healing meditation or Vajrasattva, not just for your own curing of the illness, but for the sake of all sentient beings who are ill. So if we as a Mahayanists know how to practice the Dharma, Dharma means medicine, this medicine of the mind, medicine of the mind, then we need to be inclusive for all sentient beings. We might physically distance from actual sentient beings, but emotionally we are much closer to them than we ever were before. Why? We now know the sentient beings are 4 types. Most of them we don't understand. And even those we understand some, we don't. There are many things we don't understand. Most of the sentient beings we think we know, we are attached to them. We want to possess them. We wanted to control them. We actually have no real understanding of their need and their happiness. We want them to do A, B, C to delight us, to make us happy. So this kind of way to projecting sentient beings to fulfill the gap that your life has a big hole is a complete cause of misunderstanding. Some people want to quickly run into a relationship, try to fill the gap, fill the gap, as if the person will fill the gap. We have no idea where that person is coming from. Are they able to fill that gap? They don't. Nobody can fill the gap. So therefore, it's the same. Most sentient beings are always seeing things, projecting things in sentient beings they themselves lack or they themselves misunderstand. If we understand this way, we are understanding what we think of the person is not what the person is, but what we only think about. So we completely misunderstand what the person actually wants from their own side, or is able to do, or willing to do. How would you know? Only Buddha knows the interest, the capacity, the elements, and the strength and weakness of other sentient beings. When they prove to be not so capable of doing that, Buddhas are not disappointed. They know that's the sentient being. Sentient beings are like that. So one moment they say yes, another moment they won't. So you don't get dejected or disappointed by the sentient beings' frailty and unreliability. Sentient beings are mostly unreliable even to themselves, and you expect them to be reliable to you? They wish they were a bit more reliable to themselves. So therefore, if you understand sentient beings, you are less and less disappointed by sentient beings. You're more see them as objects of pity and compassion and understanding. Because you understand sentient beings, you have even that much more compassion. They are not something for you to possess. They are not someone that you want to make them to love you and so that you're happy because they love you. That's not love. You can't love someone to love you. That's not love. That's possessiveness. That's almost making someone to love you at ransom. Love is this unconditional wish and ability to make someone happy, not because they are your relation, not because they oblige to you or you oblige, just because you're able to practice, like say, give a nice kind look to somebody, give them a nice response and have a nice chat, make them happy. That's love. Love isn't because they love you, you want to love them. That's a kind of a very, very So people don't realize that they are actually loving sentient beings, not because they will make the other happy. They want the other to make oneself happy. They love it and they will take it. If you love it, you give it to them, so it becomes cause of their happiness. So we don't understand sentient beings in a loving relationship quite a lot of time. And quite a lot of them socially obligation, like if you love your child or you do things, you do this because of your obligation. But otherwise, your child, you hardly understand. You have no idea what he or she will do. You have no clue or control where their future will take. No matter how dictatorial a parent, how generous a parent you are willing to, you have no idea. You completely whim of their future choosings, and which they have no way to tell you because they don't know nothing. So don't invest too much in sentient beings that you don't know when you haven't invested anything in yourself to grow and unfold and make yourself surprised. That's really you. What is you? Is it the body that is decaying and getting old? Is it the spirit and mind that is evolving and growing and seeing that everything is impermanent and transient? There's no truly existing entity called me. So how could there be a truly existing entity, him or her, that you can completely rely on? You have no idea how quickly sentient beings will change. Straight away, you thought they will be always like that. No, a moment later, they will have nothing to do with you, particularly if they turn 18 years old. You thought you can always keep them under your wings and make them do all the things you like and help them do all things for you. No, at least they had enough of your wings. Particularly in developed countries, young kids can't wait to get out of your home because they have suffered dictatorial parent. You give so much, but with so many conditions. They just don't taste any peanuts. You're giving peanuts and you want to give them, and they don't want to take your dirty peanut. They want to go. So lots of parents don't understand. They have estranged the relation with children because they don't understand. They have no understanding of sentient being, their children, because they themselves have no understanding of themselves, their own creation, their own karmic predicament, what they're doing. So it's important to know the meditation and retreat people do is putting a mirror into your mind and try to see yourself. What you need to change that you didn't know that was you. That was your habit. That was your imposition on others. Then we realize I need to cull that down. I need to change that. And so when people go into retreat, they do a lot of purification practices, and then they begin to know themselves, and whether they're Deva mentality they try to entertain, or jealous God mentality they try to compete, or human mentality that is always avoiding the real nature of life, like illness and parting from the loved one, losing what you can, and not being able to get what you want. And those you have, you lose very quickly. And you get sick when you want to get well. You become old when you want to stay young. You have to go away when you want to stay home. When you want to go, you're stuck at home. When you want to just stay alone, you have all these people everywhere. So you never have any fulfillment issues. Human beings are always incessant problems, one after another, one after another. So human beings, incessant suffering of change, all perverse condition continue. So all sentient beings have one shared nature, that is deluded perception. So next time, if you think from this talk, if you understand sentient beings, you will know that their perception is incorrect, as most mine are. So therefore, don't worry if they hate you, because that's a misunderstanding. Okay? Then you wouldn't resent that someone dislikes you, because you have done that many times yourself, and they're all mistaken identity. Because of that, you realize every bit of practice Dharma you do, you begin to understand how to change your mind from deluded, knowing it's deluded, as deluded. That's really good. When you're conscious of unconsciousness, then you know you're deluded. And when you know you're deluded, when you're deluded, and also when you know somebody is deluded, when they're deluded, you don't treat them as they're deluded. You treat them as you are not deluded. When you treat them as not deluded, of course, then you treat them with great care, because you've been there yourself. Therefore, you're now conscious of the unconscious of them. So your response has to be better than they can afford to do. Maybe that's your son, maybe that's your rival, maybe that's your business partner, maybe that's your this or that, and then you will have the humility. Then you will have the ability to practice generosity when they're mean, patient when they're aggressive. Very good. Then you now understand sentient beings, because you are able to remedy the very problem they are unconsciously clouded in. Now you're a real father. Now you're a real brother. Now you're a good sister and a mother, because you understand they are the child that you need to know how to look after. So all sentient beings, the Bodhisattvas call them my children. So if you can see all frail sentient beings and kind of most of the time unaware, and you know they're unaware, well, how do you tell them you're wrong again? No, you don't tell them you're wrong. When you understand sentient beings, knowing they are wrong, you know they're wrong, but they don't know they're. Do you tell them they're wrong? No. So when Buddha understood Kissa Gotami complains that her only child died prematurely, so young. And she comes to complain with Buddha and ask him to revive her child. And Buddha doesn't say no. He says, yes, I will. Amazing. Because he understands the Kissa Gotami like sentient being who really believe that Buddha could revive. Now Buddha used that her hope in him to her advantage by saying, yes, my dear, I will revive your child, but only if you assist me. Now, if you were asked by a Kissa Gotami, could you please revive my child? You will say, no, I've never revived anybody. That's wrong. So you will reject them and tell them it's not possible. You should bury her and whatever. You will say that. But because we are to do sentient beings, Buddha was enlightened. So he is enlightened. He, instead of telling her, no, I can't revive her, your son, I have not revived anybody before, he said, yes, I will, providing that you assist me. And then straight away, her hope was delighted. Her hope was improved. He used her hope to not become hopeless, but become more hopeful. He said, yes, I will revive your child, but only if you assist me. And then she said, what is it that I have to do? But because Buddha knew how to tame her. Buddha knew how to tame and change her, because he knew sentient beings. Sentient beings are very, very, it's like a mango. If you bought a mango and they only ripe half, and what do? You have to put somewhere warm before you eat it. Like that. Buddha knew that this Kissa Gotami was half-ripe mango. He didn't reject it, say it's not half-ripe, nor did he eat it. He says, yes, let's do this together. You go and get some master seed from a home where death has not occurred, and I'll make this portion, and that will revive your child. Her hope was completely delighted. This is called skillful means. Buddha was very skillful, and then she goes and she tried to find home where death has not occurred, where somebody could give master seed. Everybody had a master seed, but nobody can give it because death has occurred. Death has occurred here. Death has occurred here. So in the evening, she was so exhausted, having gone to home. By the time she visited all the home, she was already revived. She was herself revived. That is not possible to find a medicine to revive a dead, because there has always been dead everywhere. When she came back to the Buddha, she wasn't begging for the medicine. She already was medicine. She was already a transformed girl, like that. But ordinary people, when they give advice, whether you are elderly member of family, whether you are a little bit school, maybe counselor, or maybe you're a professional counselor or advisor or therapist, what would the advice be? Do they know sentient being to give what advice? Very seldom, because they are not enlightened. They don't have, if they have read something like that, they say, oh gosh, you have to use skillful device to make people mature and ripen. Because the Buddha knew that Kisa Gotami didn't know that death was prevalent. And he needs to now do this, that she has to become familiar that death is prevalent and it has occurred in every home. There are many mothers, Kisa Gotamis, who have lost a child. You are not alone. He didn't say that. He made her to go and find that out herself. So sentient beings are made to ripen themselves. And instead of us making the sentient being to ripen, you give them, delegate on certain tasks to make them come to realize. This is what education is. This is what the knowledge of Dharma is. If to understand sentient being, they should be given, showed to the pool of Dharma to drink the water of knowledge from. If the sentient beings get to know the knowledge of the Dharma, then you understand sentient being, because Dharma teaches people to know sentient beings have always deluded perception of each other, and often they misunderstand and they react to it, overreact to it, and things snowball from that. And if this could be stopped, then we have an understanding of sentient beings. We can definitely be of use in benefiting sentient beings. Otherwise, no matter how much we even wish to help sentient beings, we are seldom helping any sentient being. We wish we never tried to help, because it wasted a lot of our time and it didn't even help us anything, let alone helping them. So often people feel like that. They always want to be rescued. They want to stop the world from going through this. People want to help each other, but their ability to help sentient being only increases when they know how unconscious they themselves are. So when you are conscious of the unconscious sentient beings, what happens? You develop compassion. When you understand sentient beings, no matter how difficult they are, you develop more compassion than your criticality of them. Those who don't understand, they're very critical of another sentient being, of another person. Those who understand the sentient being, they have compassion. They know all sentient beings have this, have that. They got so much, but they have their eyes are still cataracted by ignorance of seeing the object as object, not projection of their deluded mind. So therefore, sentient beings who expect too much of you and you have failed to fulfill them, you don't get disappointed by that. That's their condition, poor thing. That's their some form of illness. That's the effect of the illness. So you pity them, you empathize them. So that's why in Buddhism, when we do the meditation on compassion, we visualize all sentient beings, the 6 realms, and we try to radiate love and compassion to all sentient beings, 6 realms, because we don't understand sentient beings. We only understand sentient beings versus suffering. Sentient being has suffering, but unconscious created by themselves. But they always implicate others. And that's the tyranny. Not only sentient beings are deluded, not only they have only suffering, but they blame each other, and then they make it many times worse. And who can correct even one sentient being? That would be good. So therefore, if someone is awful to you or awful to him or her, or they said that, instead of being judgmental, to him for behaving that, but we have to be compassionate. Then we are not compassionate to one, not uncompassionate to other. We're compassionate. This person who reports to you is deluded, double deluded, and he's talking about him. He doesn't know it's his own neurotic mind that misunderstands the other. And instead of practicing kindness, compassion to him, he thinks it's his fault. That's the problem. They're all pointing finger at. Nobody actually have the clue to take responsibility for their own problem at home. So that's why compassion, those who understand sentient beings do not register complaints so much. They see that as a nature of sentient beings. They are deluded sentient beings. They are not enlightened beings, sentient beings, yet. Because they're not enlightened, we have to act partially enlightened. If you behave partially enlightened to show mercy and compassion to those who don't see it, then how do you know you understand sentient beings? You're much more compassionate or patient than you previously were. Previously, you were always going to another person, complaining about him or her, backbiting, talking nonsense about him or her, saying, how can we have someone like that in that role? All that sorts of stuff. People always, as they're seeing all the problem out there without realizing their own projection, their own aversion to that doubles the appearance, and therefore they now have the aversion to that, and that aversion feeds their aggression, and then it makes to appear much larger and truly existing than actually they are. They don't know they are not truly existing. They don't realize they are all deceptive perception. They don't realize these are deceived by their own afflictions and bad, incorrect information. Correct information, according to Buddha, they are interdependently originated, they are temporary, impermanent, they don't truly exist. They're not permanent and they won't last long from their own side. It's nothing in the object, it's in the subject in mind that you need to be aware. So it's not objective. Understanding sentient being is not understanding sentient being, it's understanding subject of the mind of us, which gives this litany of description of the sentient being. Are they fact or fiction? Often fiction. Maybe some facts, but all warped up. all warped facts. The loom is there, but design is all wrong. Yeah, it's fault of loom, you might say. But how about the design that you are moving on top of? So when we begin to understand sentient being, what I'm saying is we begin to have more compassion to the often frail, suffering, pitiful, deluded sentient beings. So therefore, if you understand the sentient beings, you will understand the first person, and you will call yourself deluded one. Yours, deluded one. Okay. You should close your letter, yours, deluded one. You know, when you write yours faithfully, it's so arrogant. Yours, deluded one. I'm not making this up. In Tibetan letter writing, we are given a template how to address and then how to write, and then at the end you always close the letter depending who you're addressing to, but you always address to majority people. If you are the son of your father, you will say yours loving son or something. But to most people, you should yours deluded friend. Yours deluded. When you admit that you are mostly deluded, you have a good chance to understand the others and then treat them with great care, because they are not aware of that. And when we become aware of what they are not aware, we have responsibility to help them to not fall off or push them, because they don't know where is where. So we have responsibility to how to engage in a way that doesn't push the wrong button, but try to, if I say this, he wouldn't like it. If I say today, that's not good. If I say this in front of him, that's not good. Maybe I shouldn't say at all. Yes, now you understand sentient beings. You know how volatile they are. You really know. Some people are very, very, very thoughtful. Is it? Oh, I don't want to say this. He's in a good space. Oh, I shouldn't say this at all, you know. And then you end up not saying, and you're glad that you didn't, because fact that you were concerned about them actually will avoid things escalating, because you knew it's very, very sensitive and person is in a good space. And therefore we know sentient beings very well, because their interest, their strength, their weakness. Some people wouldn't mind. You know them very well. They like constructive criticism. They're asking for it. Others would not accept any comment, any criticism. They wouldn't like criticism, you know. They really can't take any criticism. They only want compliment, even though they are not deserving one. And of course, if you compliment to one to deserve, of course you're going to spoil them. Of course you, but Shakyamuni Buddha told Gautami, okay, I will do that. So we have to have a skillful way to tame them in a skillful way. How can we do it? But do we have the wisdom and compassion? We often don't. So that's why it is very important to have the caution when dealing with sentient beings. What appears in the sentient being is not what they really are. They are all our interpretation, our projection, our opinion. Have they been reliable to you? Have they been reliable? You know, you remember that. No. You're talking about opinion of somebody, your own decision, your own interest, your own choice of feelings and emotions. How reliable have they been? Let alone you passing a remark on somebody else. So when you're very, very careful, you realize sentient beings are perception of yourself, not the perceived. Opinion of yours, not the thing itself. Fiction of it, not the fact of it. Because there's no true one standing entity fact. They're all point of view, only point of view. If you want to hold a point of view that is deluded as a factual point of view, that's exactly where the deluded sentient being begins. So that's why we need to understand that to the sentient beings, with the deluded mind, they have erroneous perceptions. And we have erroneous perceptions of others, others have erroneous perception. When you know they have erroneous perception of you don't mind, you can tolerate it, because that's just their perception. Very good. If you think you are their perception, you are stuck. You should know they're entitled to their opinions. But you are not it. You're trying to change that by all means by yourself. Then we do not mind other people's opinions of yourself. Because some people, as soon as they hear about their opinion about you, they get miserable. But you are not their opinion. Their opinion about you is their opinion about you, is not you. You even don't know yourself. You can say, you're most welcome to form any opinion. I have yet to form mine. I'm terribly unreliable. I can't hardly form one opinion even about myself. When you do that, there is a start of a sign of understanding that most sentient beings are not sure even about themselves, their choices, their future, their what they will do, where they will go, what they will do, what they won't do. One moment they say this, another moment they don't do this. They were going out to do this. They went out, did nothing of that, came home with a couple of radish in the home. Have you done that? You go out, you thought you were going to do that. No, you came up with some second-hand jackets. Oh, brand new jacket, I'm not saying. Brand new jacket, you thought you'd never had any money, but you put it on a credit card. And then you're in debt. then you are dead. You never know you're going to do it. You didn't realize how things accumulate. So with this in mind, I like to make everyone to take some time to ponder the self, our own sentient being in us. What opinions, perception of it has been reliable thus far, how we can better them in relation to understand our other sentient beings that are alive, whether you think they are a bit of a burden to you, or worry to you, or cause of happiness to you. Are they really true? Are they not just your opinions? If they are, just give them a break. Don't impinge on that in a heavy kind of imposition of expectations. Because when you don't, they will feel free. They feel they don't have this huge expectation by you. And people are stressed by the demands of the peer pressure. And they have stress and they become suicidal. Just could not please their dad or please the schoolmaster, please their parent, and they just feel like not doing, not living. So this kind of pressure is unwarranted. And therefore we need to be soft and kind and give a respectable distance between oneself and other sentient beings before we become so opinionated about other sentient beings. If we have this bit of space between us and others, we might be having some wisdom of how transient, how impermanent, how constantly changeable, how things are constant flux, and nothing is what we saw, because it will change anyway. Your own opinion will change, not only the sentient being, your own opinion will change. When we know that, we're much softer towards others, and that much softer because we are to ourselves. So don't put pressure on yourself, firstly, let alone onto others, if you begin to understand sentient beings. Because mangoes are very hard to tell which is whether it's really ripe or not. Thank you, everyone. We'll conclude here, dedicate merits. So hope it made some sense for you. If not, please forgive me. I'm not so right either. Sama abarada alove ahada ajada dekal dadane alamo eva So thank you very much, everyone. With that, we have concluded the talk, and now we are about to wrap up this retreat.